Everybody, Roy here, Roy Reads Anything. Just going to tell you about a reading event, a read-along kind of thing I'm participating in over June and July, which is a read of Ulysses by James Joyce. Ulysses 2024. So this was devised by Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads and Alan, Big Hard Books and Classics. And as I understand, there's a bunch of us doing it. For me, I've sort of tried to tackle this book before. I've never not liked it. In fact, there are bits of it I've read many times. The last chapter in particular, but I've never actually made it all the way through. Not because of what is this nonsense, just kind of drifting away. So I'm hoping with a bunch of compadres we'll make it to the end, and I've come loaded for bear here with various books and aids to this mission. So I'll just go through what I've got. I mean, briefly, James Joyce, Ulysses, published in 1922, very famous modernist novel, takes place in one day in Dublin. Incredibly innovative text, bringing out the experiences of the characters in this one day, and has links to Homer's Odyssey as well, hence the title. So what have I got? Well, one thing I like to do when I do this kind of thing is to have some kind of little mascot. So like when I did my Cleovember event, I found a Lego minifigure of Cleopatra, which I was kind of surprised that there was such a thing, and amused that she's clutching a snake, given the role of the asp in her eventual demise. So equally surprised that they do a Leopold Bloom figure, but here he is with the usual depiction with a bowler hat and a dark suit. This white thing he's holding is a newspaper, and what they've done is printed a miniature front page of the Freeman's Journal from the day when the novel takes place. So that's cool. There's my little mascot fellow. So going in size order, no particular rationale to that. I've bought and mostly read James Joyce, a very short introduction. So these are non-fiction books on a whole vast array of subjects. I suppose they sort of fill the same sort of space as like Everyman's Library used to. And I've got lots, and they're usually really good. This is a good one. I've read as far as when the guy starts talking about Ulysses, so I've read about the other books. Some I have read Dubliners, but yeah, this was good for context and that kind of thing. Obviously, a copy of Ulysses is going to be helpful. Could just read the comic book adaptation, but it's pretty hard to find. So here's my Wordsworth edition, which this is the one I've used before to read from. So I'm using this as the kind of workhorse of the team. This is the one where, I mean, Wordsworth books they tend to be both good and a bit cheap. Let me move the camera so you can see the top of my head. Otherwise I'm crouching down. It's like Gimli the dwarf. Yeah, Wordsworth, cost-effective paperback. So this is the one I've marked up where the chapters are and where the sort of reading milestones are for the planned read-along. And if I'm going to scribble any notes, it's going to be in here. But for a portable copy to read that's got nice typesetting and stuff like that, I've got a Penguin edition. Okay, picture of a Martello Tower on the front. I believe that's where the first chapter takes place. So that'll be my main reading copy. Like I said, it links to the Odyssey of Homer. So I thought, well, let's actually read the Odyssey if I have time. And I've mostly done that. And I did zero research into what would be a good copy to get, well, a good version, a good translation. I just went to our local Waterbones shop and said, have you got any Odysseys by Homer vendor? And this is what I got. New-ish translation by Emily Wilson, and it's fantastic. It's well, the sort of words people use in the blurb texts are clean, fresh, lean, musical, crisp. She seems to have turned it into a real page-turning, plot-driven, not fussy, not over-ornate narrative. So really enjoying The Odyssey. And I think one thing I've learned, as always vaguely in my mind, was that the Odysseus, the protagonist, was sort of standard heroic kind of chap. But that might be the case, but he's also very much a sort of trickster, liar, father of lies he gets called. So he's sort of the ultimate unreliable narrator, so that might prove relevant. I dug out my old unread copy of the Odyssey as well, in case I want to read fancier stuff. Okay, I'm told, handy to have this is the book. And again, it sounds like, well, if you have to have other books to read a book, then what's going on? That makes it sound like agony. I think it's more that it's very rich and there's all sorts of interesting rabbit holes to go down and things that spin off from the text you're reading, as well as probably some things like, what does this bit mean? So I'm told that Patrick Hastings' Guide to James Joyce's Ulysses is a good book to have, so I'll be reading that in parallel. Now, one of the first things this guy says is, you might want to have a book of annotations as well. Thanks, I just bought your book. So anyway, okay. So for that kind of, what does this reference mean? I've got an annotations kind of encyclopedia type thing there as well. Looks cool. And then finally, biggest and probably best great present from Dr. Jennie is the Centenary edition edited by Catherine Flynn, which, as well as being big, has excellent facsimile text of the first time it was printed. At the time, this notorious banned book had to be smuggled into places, people sort of suffering punishments for having published it. So it's that version, with notes and stuff as well, and each of the sections has a sort of essay preceding it, and you get maps and photographs and all sorts of things. So this is like the full fat edition. Okay, so I will definitely be reading this when I sort of circle back after having read the chapters in my Penguin, just to let it wash over me and not worry too much about whether I get it. So yeah, Ulysses, that's a thing for June and July, starting today, which is June the 1st in real time. Just thought I'd let you know. I'm not going to give you a line by line video account. I think one thing about Ulysses is it's probably had too much written about it, but at least at the end I'll give you some thoughts if I get there. But I'm saying this is it this time. Might possibly get audiobook as well, just to flesh out in case my other equipment fails me. Okay, right, Ulysses. See you in a bit.